Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we're drinking bourbon.
Actually, we're not, and just out of respect for the states of both Kentucky and Tennessee, we're not going to call it a bourbon or a Tennessee whiskey.
Is it that bad?
Well, we'll find out.
All right. No, frog, no.
Oh, the frog's back.
The frog's back.
Frog's always back.
Frog runs on Tabasco.
It's like Old Faithful. The frog just shows up. Never mind, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Anyway, see you later, frog. So we've got a weird one today.
We do. This is definitely flavored. It's not a bourbon.
Yeah. So, but you know what?
We're going to give it a try.
We're going to give it a try.
We have sitting on the shelf. I've never had this.
Bam.
In my life. This is George Dickel's
Tabasco finished Tennessee whiskey.
Tennessee whiskey, which is kind of like a bourbon, but not.
I mean, legally, we've gone through this on the Jack Daniel's review.
There are people who have stronger feelings about Tennessee whiskey versus bourbon versus their feelings about which is the best college football team.
Right, but NAFTA can solve this argument, actually.
Oh, yeah, they do have an answer.
But let's not get into that. Yeah. So this is George Dickel Tennessee whiskey, barrel finish in Tabasco barrels, which I didn't know until I got this that Tabasco was aged in barrels.
I actually did know that.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But then it also
they're
says...
small, though. I think they're smaller than the big.
Like a quarter oak, like a Knob Creek?
Yeah, I think
so. It also says Tennessee whiskey blended with aged Tabasco pepper mash. So it must be also flavored, not just barrel finished.
We have no idea what this is going to be.
Actually, I've had this a little bit, as you can see, but it's been quite a while, and
I have
honestly, it's a surprise every time I taste it.
I think this is that bottle that you pull out to the new whiskey drinker is over and say, you've got to try this.
Yeah.
And the only reason you're doing that is because you're trying to get rid of the bottle.
Sure, could be.
And right now, I'm that guy.
Well, and here's the other thing.
Make sure you do a big pour, right?
Yeah. Well, we actually do have some rocks glasses here because we want to give this a fighting chance. I think that a whiskey like this is really not meant to be just sipped neat out of a Glencairn. It's either at minimum on the rocks or it's meant to be used in a cocktail. Like
in a mixer?
Yeah, Bloody Mary sort of thing. This probably has its place. I actually have made a drink out of this once.
Okay.
And it was, I can't remember what the ratio was, but it was mixed with a beer. Like you put, a certain amount of this and then beer.
Sure.
And I can't remember what else. There was something else in it. And it was all right, but it just wasn't really my
So
lane.
I've never had a Bloody Mary in my life. I'm not a big fan of tomato
I'm not a big fan of tomato juice either. So I've had sips of Bloody Marys that I like just having a sip of it, but could never finish a whole one.
Yeah.
Just not enough of a tomato juice.
So I have very low expectations.
But this, I think, could be like in that sort of lane of a drink.
Sure.
Like a peppery, kind of spicy
We
drink,
have recently had several flavored whiskeys that we really liked. I own a maple flavored bourbon. I guess it's whiskey. That's great, but super sweet, way too sweet. And we had that burning chair.
That's finished. That's not flavored.
What's the Savage and Cook ugly sweater?
Oh, the bad sweater. Yeah, not burning
bad,
chair, bad sweater.
Yeah, bad sweater.
Let's not insult the burning chair. That was an outstanding
burning chair. Yeah.
barrel finished bourbon.
And the bad sweater was good. It's kind of like
it's
pumpkin pie spice whiskey.
It is what it is. It's not
flavored.
Well, and that was so what I was going to say, kind of in that same vein, is like nosing this and sipping it for flavor profile. There's really no point because it's meant to taste and smell specifically like something. So
I'm getting
Tabasco sauce. Me too. It's weird. It's so weird.
So I'm getting vinegar from the Tabasco and a pepper note.
Surprisingly on the nose, this isn't that bad.
It's not. The vinegar is subtle. The pepper is a little bit more, but it's kind of like an interesting spice kind of note.
I was just going to say, I'm actually getting a pretty strong vinegar.
And nothing on the whiskey front.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
Yeah, George Dickel didn't get out of bed the day they made the whiskey.
70 proof, by the way. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know what...
screaming in at like
Yeah.
10 points below.
I don't know if whiskey in general has to be... Because it just says it's Tennessee whiskey blended with a mash. So they're not technically calling this whiskey.
Well,
so I don't actually know. I mean, I know with bourbon, obviously, it has to be 80 proof or more. I believe that's the same with Scotch. And so I don't know if whiskey in general...
I think that's a straight whiskey. Now, I own I think the Buffalo Trace Bourbon Cream. Mm-hmm. That's only like 30 proof.
Yeah, but that's not considered whiskey, or it's a liqueur.
Yeah,
or
it's a
whatever
liqueur of some sort, or a specialty liqueur, I think is the legal category.
All right, let's go in for this before we just drive this completely off. Like, this is the longest we spent talking about. It's like, it's freaking Tabasco finished whiskey. You know what it's gonna taste like.
But it has such it's almost worth the price of the bottle just for the smell, because it does not smell just like a Tabasco sauce. There's something more in there.
I could see this being very off-putting, or for people who like a strong vinegar.
Totally, and I actually do really like vinegar as a flavor.
Do you like to like put it on fish and chips?
I do.
I'm just doing this now because people are watching. Like, get to the whiskey.
I hate pickles. Not a big fan of olives.
I agree with you on that.
But I do like vinegar on fish and chips, which is like once every 2 years. It's not a common thing, but. The taste does not match the nose.
No, I mean, you know what's weird is the aftertaste of it is not bad. The aftertaste is just like hot sauce. It's like Tabasco.
I'm not getting that.
Really? So, that's all I'm getting. But the actual drink of it was almost like, it just felt like there was a couple things that didn't match that shouldn't be together.
So there's some sweetness from the whiskey. Like there's a nice kind of mellow, kind of generic whiskey kind of flavor. Mm-hmm. And a little bit of that over-the-top vinegar Tabasco note. And then that sweetness goes away. And the Tabasco note kind of like becomes prominent, but it's never spicy.
See, I'm getting, yeah, I mean, but it's got a spicy kind of finish, if this has a finish, you know? But up front, it just feels like there's a couple things that maybe would be good on their own, but just don't belong together.
So that's different. I feel like there's two flavors that just, why are those two flavors married? Like, there's nothing about that couple that makes any sense to me.
All right, I'm gonna give this a fighting chance.
I don't think this is gonna help, by the way.
Well, you know, I feel like, and I'm gonna pour a little bit in here just so I don't, just because ice has been sitting here for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do these and then the ice melts a little bit and pour the whiskey in there and it's just too watered down, so I don't want to do that. But I figure something like this cooled down might have kind of a...
Interesting.
I always think flavored whiskeys are kind of meant to be either mixers or on the rocks. They're usually, I don't think people sip a... room temperature, honey flavored whiskey or...
I actually have for honey flavored, and I love honey. That was not a reference.
Sure it wasn't.
I want to have peanut butter whiskey, straight, neat, because...
Have you not had that before?
I've had it in mixers, but I've never had it straight.
Oh,
and I love peanut butter.
All love of bourbon and, complex whiskeys aside and bourbon snob stuff aside, whatever. Peanut butter whiskey on the rocks is a delicious,
I knew that was going to happen. I apologize.
Oh, look at that. So unprofessional. It's a delicious, desserty, sometimes that's what you're in the mood for. This on the rocks is kind of different. I mean, it's like spicy, but like cooling it down temperature-wise is good.
I'm not going to do it. So I don't hate this.
I don't hate this the way some people, I've heard people hating this.
Yeah. But I feel it is a mix of two flavors that really don't belong together.
Yeah, on the rocks, I can see people who are big fans of Tabasco in general or hot sauce would like this. Because it does leave that nice, the more I'm drinking it, it's kind of like the more wings you have, the hotter it starts to build up. Like I'm getting that a little bit.
Sure.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this has its place for sure. Like it's not something I'm gonna sip on normally. Like, I'm not going to just choose to sip this on the rocks.
On a Thursday night, go
Yeah.
down to the bar and have a pour. No.
Yeah, I'm getting a bourbon every time.
Yeah.
But I would be interested in like exploring some different drink options with this, like mixers or something.
I will tell you, after having 5 or 6 sips, the nose of it is off-putting. It's reached a point where if I never smell this again, it's too soon. The taste, the sweetness of the whiskey underneath is so off-putting because it's actually good. But then the finish is so spicy and they just don't mix.
I think the rocks really help.
This is, George Dickel was so beyond drunk when he made the decision to do this experiment
Somebody certainly was.
that, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't say I recommend it, but I also can't really completely hate it either. And like I said, I think it has its place.
It has this place in your bar.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna end this so Hollywood over here can do whatever he's doing
Sorry.
on the phone. But yeah, I think you can make some interesting cocktails out of this for sure.
Definitely.
And I think that's obviously what it was meant to be. It's like I said, I don't think it was meant to be sipped out of a Glencairn neat at room temperature. So anyway, well, this has been a little experimental whiskey on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Cheers.